Hi guys, welcome back with another video with Naturally Nurtured. I'm back. I'm Joanna, and today I'm gonna actually do a story time. And one of our subscribers commented under our video and she asked to hear more about my military adventure. And she said, period, right? So her name is Isabella hyphen WY3ES. So this is the subscriber that we're gonna be replying to. So I figured it would be an injustice to get into my military story without letting you know the inspiration behind me joining the military. Guys, I'm gonna try to keep this story as short and sweet as possible, and I'm also gonna refrain from using anyone's real name. So I'm gonna be utilizing alias nicknames for that. That's what I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna be using nickname. So anyway, in 2011, I was a freshman in high school, and I met this young man. We're gonna call him Smiley. And Smiley, if you're watching, I know you know I'm talking about you because that is nickname that some people call you that know you very well. So Smiley was, if I'm not mistaken, a junior. So we met in PE, and I was among one of the best athletes in my PE class because I'll run some of the men, and yeah, I always ran with the men because the women, you're just a little bit too girly for me. Like, look at me, I'm running, let me hold on to my hair. And I was more like, let me get through. So I don't know why, but I very much enjoy running, right? But I used to get bullied a lot for it. So I just refrained from doing it outside of PE. And the reason why I used to get bullied for it is because my arm is pretty cut. It's been almost like 2 years since I worked out, but look at this. My arm is pretty cut and very defined. And some of the kids, they used to bully me, calling me certain unnice things. And because of that, the coach, when he approached me and asked me to be among his track and field team, I told him, absolutely not. We're not doing that. So Smiley came out of nowhere and he was just impressed with my running, and he came in, he was just charming me. Hey, you run nice and this and that. And I looked at him. I said, nope, not interested. So when he was like, hey, maybe we can hang out sometime and this and that, I was like, sure. So he would try to walk me to class, and I'm like, no, thank you. Anyway, a year, right after freshman year was over, my brother ended up coming down to move us from Florida to Massachusetts. So while I was online looking to keep up with some of my friends, I ended up stumbling on Smiley on social media, and I added him, and at the time I had a Pinger free number. If anyone know about Pinger, leave it down in the comment below. And that would tell me that you are an OG, like you are old school if you know about Pinger. If I'm pronouncing it correctly, I think it was Pinger. Let me just double check. It's Pinger, Pinger. So you let me know if you know about Pinger text-free app down below. So anyway, I had a Pinger number. I give it to him and I say, hey, let's catch up sometimes. That's just who I am. I really enjoy talking. Some will say I am a popular sanguine. Once the ice is broken, the ice break happen, I'm of a, woo, let's do it now type of person, right? So anyway, he ended up texting me and he's letting me know that, hey, I'm much interested in getting to know you and see where this leads. And I was like, okay, at the time. And then we ended up, after a few days, start dating each other, right? Just for me to find out some information about him. And I was like, I broke up with him a few hours after we started dating. And then he gave me some good news about those information. And I was like, okay. And then we continued that dating phase, right? I was young, guys. I was young and naive. If I could go back and tell my young self, don't do it, trust me, I would tell that girl, don't do it. But anyway, So within those times, I believe we dated from 2012 to 2016. During that whole time, it's been an up and down relationship because it was a long distance relationship, and it was also that we also struggle with infidelity on Smiley's side. Smiley just had to be Smiley, and he couldn't really say no to girls, and he would be entertaining a lot of people while he was supposed to be dating me. And that wasn't pleasing to me. There was that one time I went down to Florida to meet his parents, and we went to church. I took him to church, and my old pastor gave us some advice. Hey, why don't you move up there and live closer to her? If you guys are having a relationship problem, maybe the distance not being so far, maybe it'll work out on your favor, and this could actually work. So Smiley thought it was a good idea. At the time, I thought it was a good idea too. He ended up moving from Florida to Wood Island while I still live at home in Massachusetts with my parents. He lived in Wood Island. He was close, like not even 30 minutes far from me. So the relationship was going, and Smiley just had to be too friendly. So anyway, after a few months realizing the cycle was gonna just be what it is, it's gonna repeat itself, I told Smiley, hey, I'm not interested in being in this relationship anymore. If you wanna stay here, you can stay here. Just so you know, those people up here, they are my family, not ours, not yours, they are my family. So whatever you choose to do, don't think you're gonna have access to my family because we are not together. So Smiley, at the time, I don't know if Smiley still had this habit. He had this habit of making me feel delusional. What I mean by that is, I'll break up with Smiley Monday morning. And at the time, we used to work at the same place in one of the jobs that he had. So I'll wake up with him Monday morning, and then Smiley will go like, okay, emotions, both parties, or we're just crying and this and that, right? And then Tuesday morning, here comes Smiley with flowers and grapes and this and that. And as anyone could tell, I am a sucker for seeded grapes. So I said, oh, grapes, thank you. But we are still not together. But thank you for the grapes though. And I'll take it, and he'll come around calling me babe, and I'm like, we're not together. And then I have to put my foot down. So what would I do? What would you do in my place? That was my problem though. My problem was appetite. Because I didn't care that he was getting me flowers. But the minute I see grapes, I'm like, oh, yes, please. I must have grapes, and I must have it now. So anyway, again, track with me. I'll break up with him on Monday. He'll bring me grapes and flowers on Tuesday. I'll take the grapes, tell him no thank you for the flower. I appreciate it, but we're still not together. And then I'll have to put my foot down again, boom, and say, hey, I'm breaking up with you. We are not together. Would you believe what happened next? Go ahead. I'll give you some time to post it down in the comment below. If you guess that Smiley is back on Wednesday with some kind of food item, you are correct. He would do it again on Wednesday. And then I would accept the food, and then I'll tell him we're not together. And then he'll do it so on and so on and so on. So I was in that cycle of breaking up with this man every day, and I couldn't make the connection that the food I kept on accepting was what was telling him we are together. All I saw, to be honest, at the time, well, he's just being nice. He felt guilty. Thank you for giving me food. I never made the connection that he was giving me food as a, I don't know, let's get back together. I just felt like he felt bad, and he wasn't really trying to get back together. He just felt bad. Silly me. I know. That was my first real, not little kids relationship, but it was young adult relationship. I didn't have that much experience before him. So anyway, that was the cycle, and it went on like that for like a whole week, people. A whole week. A whole 7 days. So after I noticed the cycle, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not accepting anything from this man. So this man would show up at work, working double at the job and this and that. And he would show up at my parents' house randomly helping, doing things like, I don't know, changing their oil, fixing their this, fixing their that. And I'm like, you don't need to be here. You don't need to be here. You don't need to be here at all. And every time he'll come, hi, babe. And I'm like, I'm not your babe. I'm not your babe. Okay, we're going up. That's it. We're done. Right? And I remember one day I was running around the neighborhood and Smiley came and he started running with me and I took off. I ran as fast as I could. And Smiley was trying to keep up with me and eventually I had to stop because it was a four-way traffic light area. And I stopped and we had a heart-to-heart conversation and I told him, my piece. And he told me his piece and I said, I can't be with you. You're hurting me. And because you're hurting me, I don't trust you. I cannot be with you. And he said, okay, he understood. And I remember that night, I left him on that bench and I ran back home and I thought that was going to be it. But he was very persistent. He kept on doing his thing and I just started ignoring him. And I got to the point where I felt so delusional that one day I went to school and I saw the recruiter sitting outside. At the time, I was not a U.S. citizen yet, but I had my sworn-in interview a few days or maybe a week later. So I'm just sitting there looking at people walking to this table, and I'm like, what is this table? And I walk close, and I remember the sergeant sitting there, and he's like, hey, how can I help you with? I said, what is this? He said, oh, it's a National Guard. I said, okay. That still doesn't tell me much. What are you guys doing? What are you guys offering? And he's like, well, if you want to join the military, you can just sign up and I can get your information and we can do this and this and that. And I was like, yo, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I want to be a detective. That's what I was going to school for. I never really did any proper research to see the steps of being a detective. We'll come back to that later on down the story. So I said, what do you need from me? He said, we need A, B, C, D, E, F, G from you, this and this and that. And I said, let me get your card. In a few days, I'm going to be sworn in and become a U.S. citizen. And when I become the U.S. citizen, I'll call you back so the process can be smoother because I changed my name. And the reason why I changed my name is my birth name. Smiley had this habit. Every girl he meet with that same name, he had to talk to them and flirt with them and entertain them. And at the time, I grew to not like the name as much. So when I sat down with both of my parents, and my mom told me she wanted to name me Joanne, and my dad named me my birth name. So I ended up changing, since I never had a middle name. So I ended up changing, tweak it a little bit to Joanna Bleep last name, right? I still keep my name. It's a middle name now. Not a lot of people know about it because it's very dear to my heart. And yeah. So anyway, I told the recruiter I'm in the process of a name change and just give me a few days and then I'll be back. He said, okay, cool. So I went home. I didn't tell anyone. And after I went to my naturalization process, I swear to blah, blah, blah. I came home and I called the recruiter. I said, hey, Sergeant, blah, blah, blah. I'm ready. When can I meet you? He's like, oh, okay. You can come to the office, this and this and this. Do you need a ride? I said, no, I'll make it there. So I made it there. The earliest appointment they have, I went there to the office. And he said, what do you have in mind? I said, military police. That's what I want to do because that's going to help me become a detective in the real world. And he said, okay. He said, well, let's do the paperwork and the next step is to do the ASVAB, which is a military standardized test to see how smart you are to get military job, pretty much. So the higher you score, the more job is available to you. And it's different things, right? They check for. So if you check high for, I don't know, mechanical or whatever that skill is, then you might have more mechanical jobs available to you. If you score high in other field, you might have more in that field. So anyway, I said, okay. So I went and did my ASVAB and I scored nice. And that same day, I signed up to join the military. And then a few months later, I went to MEPS and I did all my physical things there. And they were like, hey, when do you want to ship out? I said, as early as possible, as fast as possible. Get me out of here because my ex-boyfriend is making me feel delusional. Every time I break up with him, he keep coming back like I never broke up with him. And I need to leave. And I also need to train myself so that I may be able to defend myself. And they said, okay, how about, I think at the time, I became a citizen in June. late June. So let's just call it July because it was very late. No. Mid June. And then I signed up in late June with the military. So not even a week. And then I went to basic training in September. So July, yeah, I would say that. So not even 3 months. So I just went home and I let my people know, hey, just so you know, I joined the military. I'm gonna be shipping out in less than 90 days. And everyone's like, what? And that was the first decision I made without my parents' point of view. I just went and I was like, I'm 18. Was gonna stop me type of deal. But if I had listened to my parents or even involved them into this process, I think they would have told me not to. My dad would have told me to go because he had experience in the military. Not in this state, but definitely back home. My mom, she most likely would have told me not to. So I feel like maybe I would have not because I value both their opinion. And unless I could get positive, thumbs up from both sides, I most likely wouldn't have done. So anyway, I told him and my mom, she said, oh, I'm going to take you back to that recruiter so I can give him a piece of my mind. You're a child, like how dare him to sign you up and accept you to sign up for something when your parents not even here and this and this. I said, oh, man, mama. This is America. It don't work like that. The minute I turn 18, I can do as I. And she's like, so there's no option. There's no option. I just got to deal with you being in the military. I said, there's no option. I just got to do the time now. Unless, you want me to violate the contract that I just signed and possibly get arrested. And she's like, okay. So I get ready, I pack up my thing, and I was already telling everyone goodbye. I was gonna go to OSIT, which is the basic military training and also your job, your MOS focus training together. So some people, they go to the military training, the basic training, and it's like 2-3 months. And some people, they then go back later on and do 2-3 months of that specific job that they are enlisting for. Well, for me, it was combined. It was like 6 months away. Yeah, 6 months away because I came back home in February. So I told my family and everyone, hey, I'm leaving. And anyway, mistake number one, after I signed up, believe it or not, I felt very bitter. The reason why I feel bitter is because I already completed 2 years of college. I walk up to my recruiter and I let him know I want to join. I gathered everything he needed. I didn't give him no headache. I knew my job. I went did the ASVAB, and all he had to do is fill in the paperwork. And pretty much that was like an easy check for him. And this man didn't get me no penny to go towards the student loan I had. Nothing, absolutely nothing. You would have think he would have sweetened the pot. Hey, let's get you this. Let's get your loans forgiven. Nothing, not even a penny was thrown at me. It was just, oh, thank you for signing up with the military. And that was a little bit salty because when I got to basic training and I learned there are people out there who got bonuses and who got their student loan, forgiven if they do a 6-year contract, which I did. I had the option to do a 3 years active, 5 years inactive. The military contract is 8 years altogether. You can do 3 years active where you actively go into drills and training, and then 5 years inactive. Or you can do what they call a 6x2. So 6 years active with 2 years inactive. Those inactive years, if anything broke off, God forbid, like a World War III, and they need extra people, if you are on your inactive years, they can call you in anytime. Hey, I need you, blah, 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 to come in right now and suit up. We're going to roll out. So I did the 6 years, and a lot of people get benefit for doing the longer contract. And this man got me 0. Nothing, nada. Yeah. But anyway, it's okay. I forgive you, Sergeant. I really forgive you. I forgive you. Because everything happened for a reason. And truly, I believe that maybe I wouldn't have taken my stay in the military as serious as I did if I had gotten all those perks. So anyway, I went and I started packing up. I called the sergeant. Hey, Sergeant, what do I need to pack up and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're not going to have access to supplies for a long time. You should bring like 2-3 months worth of things until you get access to this. And what did I do? Oh, I bought lotion. I bought underwear. I bought this. I bought that. I carried pretty much my whole life with me to basic training. just for me to get there, and everything I bought was dumped out because I couldn't have them. I couldn't have the lotion, it was scented. I couldn't have this. I couldn't have colored underwear. It had to be white underwear. Everyone wear the same underwear. You have to write your name on it, and everything needs to be thrown out. I said, okay. Still, I forgive him, right? So anyway, that was that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the day that I was supposed to leave, I went and I said goodbye to my mom, who was at work. And I believe I needed a ride somewhere. If I'm not mistaken, I needed a ride to the train, the place where the headquarters, something, so they can drive us to the airport. I can't remember the detail. And somehow this man, he called me and he's like, hey, I'm not feeling well. No, he came to say goodbye. He came to say goodbye. And he was like, I'm not feeling too well, and this and this and that. I think I need to go to the hospital. I said, oh, okay. So I called ambulance. Ambulance came pick him up. They rolled him out, and I went with him, and everything checked out. They said he was fine. He was just having some reaction to some things. I don't need to disclose that. It's not my personal information. So they gave him the okay. He was gonna live. He's not gonna die. And I look at him and I say, hey, if you choose to stay in this state that you had moved closer to be with me, that's your choice. But don't do it in hope that me and you were gonna stay together. That's not happening. I say, I'm leaving. My family's here. Your family's over there. We are not together. I say, I pray that you feel better. Just so you know, my phone line is gonna be disconnected. There's no way you're gonna be able to reach me. And when I come back, hopefully we just forget about this whole bad nightmare that we dated for 4 years. So he's like, oh, okay, this and that. Now I don't know what happened after. I don't know if he cried like, oh, don't go. But for me, I walk out and I didn't look back. He was at the hospital and everything. I didn't look back. Essentially, he was doing good, and that was good enough for me. So I went and I spent the longest day of my life at the airport. And then I spent another longest day of my life when we got to the airport. We went to Missouri. And there was a military place, a military lounge. I can't remember the name. My military people, let me know what it's called. And I was just sleeping there trying to get some sleep and everything. And I heard, the drill sergeant are here. And I got up and I'm getting ready, tied up and this and that. They came and pick us up from the lounge. And you're gonna have to come back for part 2. Now, if you want part 2, you leave it down below in the comments. Spam us and say, we want part 2. We want part 2. Part 2 is gonna be included from when the drill sergeant got there all the way to maybe some of my military training, because it was 6 months, or all of it. Depends on how long you guys want to watch this video. But if you want part 2, if you want a military story training continue, you need to leave a comment down below and put your post notification bell on so that you don't miss the other parts, because I promise you it gets better and better and better. You know, like this video, leave a comment below and say, hey, Joanna, Jojo, whatever you want to call me, right? We want part 2 now. And I'll get it done as soon as possible. Thank you for tuning in. I know it was a very long background leading to why I joined the military. Why I joined the military? Because I had an ex-boyfriend who was making me feel paranoid and delusional. Every time I break up with him, he acted like it never happened. And I felt like I needed to protect myself. I needed to leave so I wouldn't do something that I would regret. And that's what I did. Yeah, you're gonna have to come back to get more out of me. I love you guys, I really do. Thank you for continuing to following our journey and continuing to, you know, getting to know us along the way. I'm trying to look for something because we're trying to work on something. Thank you for tuning in with Naturally Nurtured. Until next time, stay natural. Bye.